Hello everybody, good evening. It is Sunday, February 16th. Tonight we're going to discuss one theorist on this video, Georg Simmel, and then I'll be posting a second follow-up syllabus to W.E.B. Du Bois. So this is roughly where we should be in the reading, in your discussion posts and in your reading of the material. Georg Simmel represents for us in our survey of sociological theory and social thought a step away from the first of these big three classical sociologists, Marx, Weber, and Durkheim. They come to dominate these first three theorists that we've talked about, social analysis and social theory in general. Simmel was a bit of a departure, though, and the first of what we might call people who were sort of marginalized in terms of social thought, but still have had quite an influence on it. We're going to focus on three aspects of Simmel's work. First, his view of society. Second, his view of sociology. And lastly, his assertion that the individual in modern society was in trouble, somehow the plight of the individual in society. So what did Georg Simmel have to say about society? Well, Simmel did not believe that society has a reality outside of external or externally independent of the existence of the interaction of the individuals within society. If we look at Marx and Durkheim, and particularly Weber to some degree less, but society exists independent, what Durkheim called a sui generis. Simmel doesn't believe this. He believes in a sort of kind of system of dualities. Society is seen, yes, in Simmel's theories as working downward on individuals, and then it does shape and sometimes determine behavior. But on the other hand, for Simmel, it doesn't exist independent of individuals. Again, this is a radical departure from our first three theorists. Simmel rejects Durkheim's idea of sui generis, the idea that society exists independently of individuals. Well, where is society then? If it's not inherent outside of, external to, acting as a force on individuals, where is it located? Well, for Simmel, the key concept, his key assertion was that society exists in the interactions between individuals. It can't exist without those interactions. For Simmel then, large-scale institutions, bureaucracies of Weber, the economic classes of Marx, and the superstructures that Marx talked about, the social institutions, and the society shaping human behavior from the outside, according to Durkheim, are not entirely correct. These arrangements, these large-scale social realities, are for Simmel merely immediate interactions that have become crystallized as permanent fields. This is his language, that they've become crystallized as permanent fields. For Simmel, society was a study of social interaction, what he termed association. A warning, that word doesn't appear in your spell check, but it's an actual word, association. Society and individuals within it constitute what Simmel termed a duality. We are both autonomous beings, and we're a product for historical location and our social location. Here is an example. For example, and there's this duality. If we're attracted to another person, our interaction with them, if it is oriented towards taking action in this regard, is a duality in that it can result in denial of what we want, or consent, what we're going for. If there's a conversation, you're going to shape your responses to try and move the situation towards consent. agreeing with a person even if you do not. That's what Simmel terms sociability. Another example cited in your book is fashion of a duality, of one, a Simmelian duality. Are you setting yourself aside, that is making a fashion statement, or are you conforming? Every fashion statement begins with a differentiation. A person or people setting themselves apart, a break from the past, a way of dressing or cutting one's hair, and then it becomes its own sort of uniform. I had a mohawk in the 1980s when I had hair, stood up straight there, and that was considered kind of cutting edge, but then it became sort of a uniform, subcultural uniform. For Simmel, then, the individual in modern society was explained in terms of a web of group affiliations. To get a sense of this, I want to direct you towards the diagram on page 225, figure 6.3. Well, Simmel had his own version of alienation. That he called it the tragedy of culture, where the ideas and products of human creativity come to dominate individual will and self-development, or subjective culture. Simmel talked about this in tangible terms in his discussion of the individual and money. Money allows us into a wide range of relationships as we seek to satisfy our individual needs, but it transforms our ties to others, expanding self-fulfillment on the one hand, but at the expense of reducing interactions to superficial, impersonal, and fragmented social relationships. On our continuum, we can place Simmel squarely in the individual orientation non-rational quadrant. Please see page 223 for his comparison of money and value as compared to Marx. In his exchange, for our first reading, for Simmel, the key point was the measure of sacrifice necessary to attain goods or goals, or to attain the money that we use to get goods or goals. This is the source of their value. There can be no universal objective standard by which value can be established without assessing this. In our second reading, and this is the reading that Simmel is most often cited and remembered by, The Stranger, Simmel analyzed the society in terms of what he calls social types. Each society has a range of social types. They're kind of idealized types: a pauper, the nobleman, the merchant, the scientist, etc. There is one type of person extant in society, and in every society though, that Simmel terms the stranger. Remember that Simmel, as a Jew, is suffering ostracization and anti-Semitism in Germany, which it didn't start in World War II. This is like the late 19th century. So he's trying to come up with an intellectual framework to do some sense making of this. The stranger, then, and has had people who were Jewish in Europe since the Middle Ages, was a type of person who is both within society, while being at some remove from it due to laws. Jews in Europe in the 19th century and before that, were constrained from they were denied access to certain resources. The nearest analog we could make is the situation with African Americans in the United States prior to after slavery and with the enaction of Jim Crow laws at the beginning of the 20th century. They're both a part of society, yet they're removed by other people, the more powerful people within society. So they're both within and without society, and that's Simmel's central insights. We hope this helps you with your readings, and our next topic will be W.E.B., and his name is pronounced Du Bois. That's a correct pronunciation of his name. Not Dubois, but Du Bois. W.E.B. Du Bois will be our next reading. Thank you very much for your time.